All right. Welcome back, everyone, to October 2nd as we begin this wonderful fall season. I don't know if it's technically hit yet, but it's definitely, you can feel it in the air, and it's a welcome change. At least it is in my opinion, in my home. I'm always excited about the fall season coming. It means new change, new growth. So glad to see you all here today. Amy, Eric, glad you're here. Denise, Michelle, Sheila, glad you guys are all here. Thank you for joining me today. Today, let's talk about the importance of understanding something. We need to understand that there's times in our life when we need to let things go. We need to let it go. We all have challenges. We face challenges in our daily lives, um, challenges that come up with, sometimes we really wish we could change them. It's maybe the health of ourself or the health of a loved one. Maybe one of our children is, you know, going through rough times. Maybe a family member has having some difficult health challenges or challenges with finance, whatever it might be. And as they're going through this rough times, maybe it's us, maybe it's our business, whatever it is, um, we find ourselves hitting these moments when we're not thriving as much as we would like. And all of these challenges that come up create pressure. They kind of push from the outer walls. They create pressure on us, and it begins to push in on all sides. Some of them are much heavier than others. Some of them are kind of a light push. But every push, even if you've got quite a significant push against you and you're feeling that pressure, just an added little bit more makes it that much more uncomfortable. When this happens, we find we often find at times that we're compelled to um, try to really fix it ourselves. We're really trying to do things ourselves. We've got an idea that I need to make things right. I need to make things happen my way. Um, I need to fix things by my own definition, my own terms. Uh, and we feel compelled to go out and try to force these things to change and to pry open this door that is closing. We kind of discussed that last time. Don't let those doors slam shut. Don't put your feelings, don't put your emotions, and don't put your fingers into those doors of those essential closings. Let those things close. Um, Whenever we feel compelled trying to resolve problems, it makes us approach things in a way that ultimately cause us to get in the way. We ultimately get into our own way when we're trying to force things to happen. And we do this without knowing it. One of the things I shared with a business coach that I'm meeting with is that tigers don't get up in the morning and do affirmations. You ever think of that? Tigers don't get up in the morning and do affirmations. They just get up and they yawn, maybe scratch their ear, and they get up and do their thing. They trust, they automatically trust. We as people, when we're incarnated on earth, we take on all kinds of limiting beliefs about the environment around us. We start to take on without questioning, we take on whatever's there. We take it first. And these become kind of the foundation of how we see our life, and they begin to limit us. When you look at a child, when you look at a newborn and you look at a baby and you look at a child, they don't have any limitations. They don't have any beliefs. That's why little children oftentimes jump into the car and take off with the family car down the road. Little kid, or you'll see them walking on a really high ledge, way up, 40, 50 feet up. And they do this because they're fearless. They do this because they haven't learned the limitations that act as barriers that we as adults later bestow on them. And those limitations are illusions. Those limitations are illusions. And those are the things that press in on us and cause us to feel pressured and cause us to push. And when we are when we feel when we feel compelled to push against those back without letting them go, we're literally getting in our own way. This happens every time we take matters into our own hands. When we take matters into our own hands, trying to resolve things, the result is always going to be a tension build. There's going to be strain. We're going to be flexing our muscles and trying to force something to happen, either physical muscles or mental muscles. And when we do this, most of the time, what we result is the ending result is this thing ends up blowing up in our face, blows up in our face, and we have a deep feeling of frustration. Now, yes, we have good intentions, and we oftentimes will do our best to contribute what we think is best by doing our part. But in most cases, we're putting our own intentions into it, our own will, our own desires. And in most cases, the best thing we can do is let it go. Let a higher mind handle it. Because we're so limited in what we think is right that we literally will limit the outcome. We can sabotage. We can block certain channels. We must condition ourselves. One of the most powerful things that we can do is condition ourselves when that trouble happens, when those pressures come up, when we feel that tension, when we feel that flexing of the muscle, needing a compellment to do something. We must condition ourselves in these moments to be still and let go and let God. We have to let go. Oftentimes we interfere with things that are not our battle. These are the little things that the divine needs to handle. We all know that there are situations that we are not able to fix or resolve. It seems that no matter how hard we try, with all that pressure you have on yourself, how much you extend yourself, how nice you are, and how many favors and you ask and how many people you ask to help you and all these things, you aren't able to change the outcome. And if you do change the outcome in some way because you force it, there's a good chance that whatever you did is not going to stick. It's not going to stick for long. So understand this principle. The more you force it, you attempt to push something to resolve it your way, the more you try to manipulate things and try to convince this person to do right or fix this scenario, it will not only bring more stress and strain and tension into you, but will oftentimes make matters worse. And we have to be real honest with ourselves about these things. Because if we're going to grow, if we're going to have quantum leaps in our levels of consciousness and begin to grow and begin to experience different levels of results in our life, we have to first be honest with ourselves. And the key to understand here is the only thing that drives people to change is their own specific reasons. It can't be anything that we're doing on the outside. I don't care if it's your spouse, your coworker, your boss, your child. If you have a teenager, the only thing that's going to drive a person to change is their own specific reasons. This means people will only act in an attempt to change for their own reasons and not someone else's and not yours. And this has been shown. Do you know there's studies that show these are surprising? These are surprising studies that when a person is doing a certain set of behaviors, like a child or, anyone doing a certain set of behaviors, it could be somebody helping out. Just for example, a spouse helping you put dishes away after dinner every day. Let's say you have a spouse and he's helping you after dinner every day, put the dishes away and stuff like that. They've shown this kind of behavior in studies that if you begin to, just out of nowhere, give that person a reward, give them a reward for doing something that they're already doing, the likelihood that they'll keep doing it shrinks down completely. It actually dissolves away that person's choice to keep doing that when you give them a reward. Now, isn't that surprising? That just shows that the only reason a person is going to change is for their own reasons only. If a person does modify a behavior or change a habit because of something that someone else has suggested or asked for or forced them to do, most of the time, in an overwhelming majority of the time, that change is not going to stick around for long. People will not change because of someone else's reasons. They will only change because of their own. And when we force, when we have tension, when we think that I'm going to, I've got to make things right, when we attempt to change these situations, circumstances, or events, it'll oftentimes end up causing more damage than it does good. And I know some people may say, well, Gabe, I'm trying to help them. I'm praying for them and I'm trying to have God help them and I'm trying to, have them do what's right. I want this to happen for my son. I want this to happen for my friend. I want this to happen for my spouse. Each of us has our own divine path. Each of us has our own journey. And we are not here to correct their path. We don't know. We don't know what's right for them. We don't know what's the best path for. We don't know the best path for our child. As parents, we don't. No, we need to be there and we need to support them and be an example for them. But there's no guarantee that we know what's the best path for them to take. So sometimes in those circumstances, it takes more faith to do nothing than it does to try to force something. And when we force something, we end up stirring it up. It blows up in our face. We end up even more frustrated. It takes more faith to let it go than it does to try and manipulate something to happen. Manipulate a behavior, manipulate a situation, manipulate some circumstance that happen our way. It takes much more faith to let it go. And I'll tell you what, the Creator could not have made it simpler. The Creator could not have made it simpler. We're supposed to let it go. Sometimes there's an urgency within us to act like there's that underlying tension to get us to do something is there. That inner voice within our head says, you should do something about this. Don't let them get away with it. You need to defend yourself. They said this, you need to defend yourself. You need to say this back. You need to step in this moment and make things right, make things better. Get in there, force it to happen, make that person do what's right. Don't fall into that trap. Don't let yourself fall into that trap. Okay? What you should do is pray, say, I willingly release the thoughts and things that cloud my mind because it's for my greater good to do so. That's what we need to say. That's what we need to do for ourselves. We need to release that tension. We need to let it go. I willingly release the thoughts and things that cloud my mind because it's for my greater good to do so. Now, when we say it just like that, I willingly release the thoughts and things that cloud my mind, and we say, because it's for my greater good to do so, we're giving ourselves a specific sentence structure that goes right into our belief systems. So it's real easy for us to say that. When we feel like we need to make things right, when we feel like we need to force a behavior, if it's a child or a spouse or a coworker or someone else, and we don't know their own individual divine path, we'll sabotage things, we'll make things more difficult, blows up in our face, and at the end of the day, we're just more frustrated. So a very powerful prayer is just to say, I willingly release the thoughts and things that cloud my mind because it's for my greater good to do so. And you just sing that statement a couple of times a day to yourself when those moments happen. You're literally taking your hands off of it. You're literally letting it go. And a great exercise to do along with this is a God box. A God box. And I know I mentioned that I was going to do that maybe not the last one, maybe the one before, and I did not. So two soul formations ago. So a God box is a really helpful exercise to do. Just using your imagination and pretending is a great way to help you let things go after you say this simple prayer. So how do we do God box? Well, you need to pretend and you need to be playful. As the Bible says, come to me as children. You need to be playful and pretend. And in your own imagination, just kind of visualize however it works best for you, however you desire. You're the one deciding to do this. It's your choice in how you do it, and it's your choice if you do it or not. You're the one that ultimately, this is to assist, so how you do it is up to you, and it's up to it's your own decision to go through with this. But if you could, I would suggest doing this a couple times whenever you feel that tension, when you feel that tightness. Just visualize yourself with a big golden box right here in front of you. If you just you can imagine it, you can just pretend this golden box is right there, bright golden box. And all of the things that are cluttering your mind, the things, the people, the circumstances that are there that you don't like, imagine them as files, if you will, little pieces, little squares, little colored cubes, whatever they might be. And you don't have to analyze them. You don't have to know what each one means, but you see all these colored cubes just kind of start floating and moving right into that golden box. Just see them all just start kind of floating, coming out of nowhere. Some files are black, some are bright red, some are yellow, some are green, whatever it might be. Just see all these files just flowing into this golden box. This golden box represents something that's not your battle, something you want to let go, something you want to surrender to the greater mind. Again, one of the most powerful things you can do. And as you see these things floating into that golden box, notice how those floating files, those floating cubes, they start to diminish. They start to get less and less and less. Okay. Add the few more in there. Watch that golden box close and seal shut, almost like you're going to take it to UPS or the post office. And on the top in golden letters, just write on there, to God with love. Just write on there like you're literally sending a package. See that golden box in your mind, in your third eye, in your imagination, floating up to the sky, floating up to the very top, getting taller and taller, way higher, higher up, going into the clouds. And you see with a bright flash of light, it just disappearing. Just a bright flash of light. You see it just disappearing. And you'll notice that suddenly you feel lighter. Why? Because you're fighting some battle that you shouldn't be. And you may have to practice that many times. I willingly release the thoughts and things that cloud my mind because it's for my greater good to do so. And then practice doing that little that what I call the God box afterwards. And when those things happen, when those speed bumps occur, one of the things you can do is you don't have to like it. You can say this, I don't like it. I don't like what's going on. I don't understand it, but I trust you. But I trust you, Source. You can say, I know you've got this. You're working all things for my good. I'm so excited to see how you handle this problem. I've conditioned my mind whenever something comes up. I'm not one without problems, by the way. Okay. We all have them, but I've conditioned my mind that whenever some problem comes up, I don't focus on it. It's almost like this is the way I think of problems. This is the way I think of negativity. This is the way I think of anything less than a pleasant thought, because you have no idea how powerful thoughts are and what kind of energetic signature your heart and your feelings are sending out to the universe. I imagine this. You're sitting there by a nice warm fire and the fire pops and you see this like a red amber bursts and a red amber flies, lands on your shirt, lands on your sleeve. The minute you notice that happening, if you scuff it off right away like that, there's no damage done. Doesn't do anything. It just gets off, right? But if you had that amber land on your sleeve and you sit there and you just dwell on it, you let it sit there and you let it burn, it will do irreversible damage to that sleeve. It'll burn a hole right through it. So the more tightness, the more tension, the more that we're trying to force things to happen, the more we're dwelling on our problems rather than letting them go, handing them off to a greater source. I want you to remember that amber, that red amber from a fire landing on your sleeve. Brush it off real quick. No damage is done, or let it sit there and smolder. And you're free to do whatever you'd like to do. It's your choice. Me, I choose to be still. I choose to stay in peace. I choose to let God fight those battles for me. You can say to yourself, I will be still and let you do what only you can do. That's a really powerful prayer. I will be still and let you do what only you can do. Now, there might be times when this is difficult for us. Maybe we want to figure things out. Maybe we're the type that has to do something. We do. We have to make something happen. We got to force it, not to sit there and just make something happen. I'm going to advise that you learn to let it go. Learn to let it go. Yes, we need to take action on things. Yes, we need to have a willingness to follow our dreams and take action and do things, but always let it go. Don't try to force things to happen. Don't hold on to that tension. Many times when we have a problem, when we have something's come up and we think our best option or our best choice is to find a solution and maybe even contact others to see what their input is. I mean, we're notorious at asking other people for help on our problems when they clearly don't have the answer either. But we as humans, we love to give answers to people. Even if you're driving in a new town and you come across someone and you ask them, "How do I find downtown?" And they say, "Turn right, turn left, and then turn right and turn left." Even if they have no idea how to find downtown, they'll give you directions because it's harder for us to say, I don't know. Okay. We may be tempted to contact others to see what their input is. Then we form strategies. Then we have these plans and we put ourselves on the offensive. We start to take these steps to see things through. And this, of course, does has its place. And it's a necessary trait to have your dreams come into reality. Okay. In my upcoming event Saturday, I'm going to share years and years of what all the things I've learned, how to actually use effective prayer, how to actually manifest things into reality, co-creating with a greater source to make things happen. And I'm going to share with you how to get rid of the garbage and how to install things in you really powerful to where you become a manifesting magnet, to where you're literally working with the divine. The 3 steps that are necessary are you have to have an identity that matches what you want. If you feel you don't deserve, if you feel like you're not worth it, if you feel like, you know, like in my book, the first chapter I talk about, I was raised to think I was a no good, low life son of a drunk. So if you feel that way about yourself, you're sending a specific message out to the divine. And God is not going to respond to what your requests are. God is going to respond to how you feel in your heart. That's why it says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So the first thing I talk about is you have an identity that matches your desire. You have to feel like you're worth it. The second thing is willingness to take action. And the third thing is absolute connection with source. You have to let it go. You have to let go and let God take care of the battles. Don't be tense. Don't try to force things. Okay. Um, trust and the divine. That is absolutely true. I've learned from my own experiences, my own knowledge that I've acquired that only God can handle these things. And the more you try to force things to happen, other than letting go and letting divine do its thing, the more channels you'll inadvertently block, the more you limit yourself, and ultimately the more you drain yourself and frustrate yourself. So when you see somebody who is in chronic pain and they just are walking slow they're just not able to do much, it's because they are fighting battles that they never should have been fighting. They're holding on to things that clutter their mind. I know many mentors um, who have done this. Okay, they go and they achieve big things, but it costs them their vitality, their health, and ultimately they aren't winning. Okay, and it's because they are not trusting the way they should. They're not letting go. They're not letting things happen. They're forcing things to take place, and it will deplete your vitality. If you look at what the Psalms say, it says, unless the Lord builds the house, we labor in vain. So if you're going to learn to create the life you want, you have to let the Lord build the house. You can't do it on your own. How many of us are laboring in vain? How many of us are just working hard and constantly struggling, it seems? Always trying to force things to happen, attempting to change our spouse, change our children, convince our coworkers, convince people to like us, convince us that we're good, convince us that we're nice. And this is equivalent of trying to move uphill, walk uphill with sandbags attached to you. Everything is draining. Everything is draining. It might even seem to you like you're not doing enough. And if you're not doing all this work, attempting to force it to happen, then maybe we feel guilty. I've got this problem and I need to do something and I need to make this take place. And if I'm not working, I'm not worthy. No, let go. Learn to let go. Learn to say that prayer and learn to practice that God box. The more you do so, the more your tension, the more you're forcing, the more all that frustration starts to dissolve away. In Hebrews, it says, those who believe enter into rest. Understand it's necessary to let it go, and it is okay to do so. It's okay to do so. If you're gonna if you're gonna go into a state of rest, and believe me, I know what rest is like. I know exactly what it's like. I know what it's like to trust no matter what problem, no matter how big it seems. My brain is immediately on trusting. I don't like it. I don't understand, but I trust you. I want to stay in that rest. It's necessary to let go, and it's okay to do so. You're not obligated to force anything to happen. You're not obligated to force anything to happen, and you're not obligated to try to manipulate someone to do something. Give yourself permission to enter into rest. Give yourself permission to not worry about it. Give yourself permission to let it go. Do your part. You know, I would highly suggest, it's up to you. It's of your own free will. Whatever you like to do, it's okay. However it fits you and by your definitions and standards alone. But I would suggest that affirmation and, say that I'm willing to release the thoughts and things that clutter my mind because it's for my higher good to do so. Do that God box exercise as many times as necessary, and then allow yourself to take your hands off the wheel. It needs to happen for a greater mind. Know it needs to happen. Let God take over that. You don't need to fight those battles. Okay? Let go and allow yourself to enter into rest. All right. So again, thank you all for joining me here today. And it's my intention you get something out of this that you can take with you and apply. And I look forward to seeing you all next week.
Thank you, Dr. Gabe. Have a great day, everyone.